Franklin D. Roosevelt is seen as one of America's greatest presidents, not just because of his morals and accomplishments, but because he understood and skillfully played the game of power. He embodied Machiavelli's idea of being both a fox, clever, and a lion, strong, using political drama, strategic allies like Harry Hopkins, and behind-the-scenes maneuvering to lead effectively. In contrast, Jimmy Carter, while deeply moral and decent, lacked that strategic edge and struggled as a leader. The takeaway: being good is important, but effective leadership often requires a mix of moral values and political cunning. Here is Robert Greene, one of my favorite, who explains
To me, one of the greatest American presidents that have ever lived is FDR. Now, FDR was, I think, a very decent man, but he was incredibly Machiavellian. And probably the best biography of FDR was a guy named MacGregor Burns. The title of his book was The Fox and the Lion, which is a phrase from Machiavelli that sometimes you need to be the fox, and sometimes you need to be the lion. You need to be clever and crafty, and you need to roar and chew people up. You need to be able to be both. That was FDR. He was so clever. He knew how to create drama, how to create spectacles. He had a henchman, I think it's Harry Hopkins, who would do all the dirty work for him, so he never appeared to be doing anything dirty. He was very, very clever. I think he had high morals. I think he had good values, and he did great things. He led us through a depression. He led us through World War II. He created our social security system. He was a great president, but he knew the hard game of power. I contrast that with somebody like Jimmy Carter. Now, I know we all have our own personal beliefs here, but growing up in the era of Jimmy Carter, I thought the guy was rather incompetent. I thought he wasn't a very good president. He was moral. You would never find a more moral guy, a more decent human being. He was a wonderful person. I would have a beer with him. I would be his best friend. But I don't think he played the power game very effectively. And so sometimes the moral people aren't really necessarily those who know how to play the tough side of the power game. And sometimes people who have a little bit of a Machiavellian streak, but who have decent values, like an FDR, I think they can be much more effective in those kind of roles.